Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a foundation demo. I recently picked up the Lancome Teint Idole makeup stick. And as many of you know, I'm a huge fan of the Lancome Teint Idole foundation, the liquid foundation. I wear it in the shade 140 Ivory N. I don't know if there's a 140 Ivory anything else, but I wear 140 Ivory N. And I love the Teint Idole liquid. It's one of my favorite foundations of all times. It's what I wear almost all summer long. It gives quite a bit of coverage, but it's very long lasting. It keeps my skin matte. So I was really curious to try the stick foundation. Now, I've talked before, I'm always a little hesitant about stick foundations because they can feel, I don't know, sometimes my skin can feel suffocated from them. And right now, I'm really loving the stick foundation that I have in my collection that I love the most is a Tom Ford Traceless Stick Foundation. So I was anxious to try this, so my skin is all prepped and ready to go. I found, after testing this out, that striping it on was the best way, rather than using a brush and kind of working off the stick. I found that striping it on my skin sometimes I don't like to stripe it on the skin because I'm afraid it's going to be too heavy. But that's not the case with this at all. I'm using a damp beauty blender. And I tried it a few different ways. So I was using a stippling brush like this. This is one that's from Real Techniques. And I was using that and kind of trying to pull product off the foundation. I just couldn't get enough. So I thought I would stripe it, and I started with just a little bit because my liquid foundation from Teint Idole is quite, significant. It gives quite a good deal of coverage. But I found that even when blending it around, it still wasn't covering most of my face. So as you could see, when I first put it on, I did put quite a bit on. So I definitely, that kind of took me a few tries to decide how much to use, but I definitely found that this really blends out well, so I can go a little bit heavier with the stick and with this formulation and add a little bit more and kind of stripe it all over the skin, and it really kind of blends out beautifully. As you can see, it really does a gorgeous, gorgeous job of covering. And, when I first tested it, I would kind of stripe a little bit and move it around. And I would do I did one here, one on my forehead, one on my nose, and small one on my chin. And it just wasn't enough. So I felt like 2 or 3 on each side, 2 or 3 in the forehead, 1 down the nose, maybe 1 or 2 on the chin. And using a damp beauty blender has really made it much more, blend much more seamlessly. So that's really the key. And that's what I find with most stick foundations is some people like a stippling brush like this. I find it really didn't do much. It just didn't move it around the way I wanted it to. And when I first tried to use this, when I was striping it on the skin, it even looked a little cakey. So I was like, let me pull out the beauty blender because it's my saving grace for all foundations. And sure enough, it worked its magic. And yeah. So let's talk about first the finish. The finish is stunning. It's exactly how I want my skin to look. I love it because it's just my skin, but a little bit better. It doesn't have any type of, glow or dewiness or anything. It's really kind of just more a natural matte finish. My Dior nude makeup that I've talked about before, that gives me a great my skin but better finish. So it has that kind of fresh skin look. This definitely has much more of a natural matte finish. And I wore it a few different days in different weather conditions. It's been definitely getting a little warmer here. It is extremely long wearing. I find that it wears as long as my liquid foundation. Now, what's interesting, this compared to my liquid foundation, it gets a little bit dewier throughout the day. I found that, it still stayed quite, my skin still didn't look shiny or greasy, but I noticed a lot more of a slight oil production coming through more with this formula than I do with the liquid. The liquid, it almost feels like it's locked and loaded on my face. It feels It never feels heavy and never looks cakey, but it just, I don't know, it feels like it's shellacked onto my skin. Whereas this definitely, I can feel like there's some movement to it. I didn't find it breaking up anywhere. That's why I love the other Teint Idole, because it doesn't tend to, break up around my nose or around my forehead where I get really oily and shiny. But I did notice that I was stopping into Starbucks and I went to the bathroom. It's kind of always like mid-afternoon coffee run. And I'm like, let me go to the bathroom and check my makeup that I'm testing. And sure enough, it was definitely a little bit dewier. And so I'm curious to see how it will wear for summer. I've decided definitely to keep it. I kind of knew I was going to keep it already because I love the Teint Idole liquid. And I don't know, I just wanted something different, but obviously within the same family. I haven't yet tried the concealer, but I've heard great things about that. So overall, I think it gives great coverage. I would say medium coverage. You probably could build it up closer to medium full, or you could sheer it out. That's what I love about this formula. If you just did like a little bit of stripe, just a little bit here and there, you probably could really sheer it out to be very minimal coverage. But I like it more medium. And it starts out as very soft matte finish, definitely very long wearing, but it did get a little bit shinier than the liquid, I found. I don't find it to be suffocating on the skin. I don't feel that it's very cakey or heavy feeling. And I think for people that have drier skin, I don't know. I definitely feel like it's a little bit more emollient than the liquid, even though it seems crazy that like the stick in a solid form would be a little more emollient than a liquid. But I do find, I would guesstimate that it was, a little bit there's more slip to it. So, I don't know if it's great for dry skin. It might be a little bit better. I would say more combination oily would definitely benefit from this. If you have dry skin and you've tested it, please leave me a comment below and give me your impressions. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.